I am making baked brie with a cranberry chutney and toasted almonds.
Oh.
Ooh.
Okay, so we're gonna start with a little chutney. In here, I have a cup of dried cranberries. You could use other dried fruit, but I like cranberries or dried cherries the most. And I've just cooked down a cup of cherries with a cup of white wine. I'm talking whatever's left over from the night before, door of the fridge type of white wine.
Okay.
Cook it all the way down, and that plumps the dried fruit. You know, it hydrates them, right? They've had their margarita too. So to that, I've just peeled and diced one pear, and I'm gonna just add that in.
You've been talking about those pears. You're bringing them in. You love the pears.
You know, I'm not gonna make eye contact with an apple this season.
Wow.
Okay? I'm all about the pear
Bold.
love. Just cooking that pear a little bit to soften it. Now to that, I know you don't add butter to chutney, so I don't know why you would, but I'm gonna add a tablespoon of butter.
Cause thighs, that's why.
Because we need it. A little cayenne, just half a teaspoon, just a little touch. 2 tablespoons of brown sugar. You need a little bit of that. And you know me, a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar. They don't make apple cider vinegar, do they?
We need the tang.
Pear cider vinegar would be
Wouldn't
awesome.
that be interesting?
Write it down, Sonny, for our next business venture.
So we're just cooking that down. You can kind of just let this hang out. I have a batch here that I cooked a little bit longer. You could kind of make it more raw and fresh or more cooked depending on what you want. Now, to that, I'm gonna add some fresh parsley and a tablespoon of diced pickles and a tablespoon of diced pickle juice. And that's because we're gonna put this on a giant wheel of brie. Okay,
That's
now.
a big wheel of brie.
I
It's our
swear.
queso and margarita,
That is,
right?
that is the wheel that came off the bus earlier, is literally the brie.
This is a 1 kilo wheel of brie, and it's 8 inches in diameter. Do you know what I'm saying, people?
That's right, we mean business.
Yeah, we're not, this is a Friendsgiving. If you're really with your friends, right? Friends don't let friends eat tiny wheels
I
of
think that
cheese.
this format is that.
Oh, she cutting the rind off. Do it, Alex.
Exactly.
I was wondering.
I like the big format brie. I think it's better.
Do you guys always cut your rind off of the brie or no?
If I'm baking it, you gotta have that
gotta have
A little
point
bit of the
entry.
Sometimes I'll just do like a hash in the in
Yeah.
the center and peel back when you're done. That's kind of sexy too. You know what I mean? Look at that.
Yeah, you want to open this up. So, I mean, I'm kind of thinking, you know, like a queso dip, you know, something really kind of big format.
I'm liking this idea right
Well,
away.
Jeff just made the
It's gonna be
point.
so good with these
We're-
margaritas.
Exactly. We're drinking margaritas. Might as well have cheese dip.
I like that we're shaking it up, don't you?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm going to put this in here,
the
tiniest
memo.
pinch of salt,
Oh.
and I'm going to just toast the almonds at the same time. Right? Why not get it all done at the same time? This is gonna go in the oven at 400 degrees. I like the idea of toasting the nuts and having a built-in timer. I have burned more trays of nuts, but this is just almonds with the skin on for a little bit of that taste. This is gonna go in the oven at 350 degrees, about 12 minutes. What are we looking for?
Wow.
A giant brie jacuzzi.
Okay.
Juggoos.
Okay. And that's
Alex,
a dry pan. No,
speak my
no
language.
fat or anything in it. I like that.
And then here we go. Of course, I just happen to have one casually bubbling away. And I mean, can we get a little aromatherapy going?
Oh, girl.
Bro!
Look at
It's got bubbles in there.
Wow. You just
I am
stop
absolutely
right
for
there.
anything in
Take a
cast
little
iron
nose bath.
Say like that stays warm for more than 5 minutes.
But
Yep.
look at the top. I mean, it almost looks like a pizza.
I like the side.
Oh.
Put out some bread, put out some crackers. You could just put out crudité with this. Excuse me while I serve you all.
Oh, you are just so nice.
That is a Thanksgiving
I like how she
starter.
said she could just trust people. Okay. You're
Right?
gonna trust that I'm gonna take the proper amount.
Yeah, there is no, you know.
There's
this
no
is-
proper amount, Sonny.
That's gorgeous, right?
There isn't, is there? Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
taking
you
a
can
photo?
go in.
You
I
got
like
it?
an action
Wait,
shot.
let me give you a slow-mo dig in.
Oh, hold on.
You know,
I'm gonna
let me
get the
make it
video.
dramatic.
Here we go. 3, 2, go, and
This is
scene.
Friendsgiving, right?
Oh,
Everybody's taking a
Motto.
cheese pull.
That's what happens when you trust me, Alex, okay?
Sour mix.
I know. It's good. Oh, I
Get some
That
of
is,
this in
oh,
there.
look at that.
Wow.
Look at that. Look,
Oh, it's a little hot. Be careful.
Don't burn the top of your mouth, Sonny.
Come on, go
I know,
in
it's
there.
kind
Go
of
in
like a
there.
pizza. You're supposed to, right?
Yeah,
Like,
And using a plate.
Oh my God, I love it.
Oh, the
yeah.
cheese.
Who needs turkey?
we already know about the brie. You know what I'm saying? Comes through, it's creamy. It's kind of like, you know, it'll accept any flavor on top of it, right? But What I love about this is I always have dried cranberries in my pantry, or cherries, which I think would be perfect here. You're
I think
right.
everybody
dried
does,
fruit
right?
would be great, right? But pears just don't get the love that
don't.
they should
They
around
don't.
the holidays. They're so fall.
Sad about it.
They're so plentiful in the produce section.
Pastrami meatballs to serve on rye toasts with mustard. I have onions and garlic softening in my pan over medium. Let them soften for a few minutes longer while I mix up the rest of my ingredients. I'm using a cup of breadcrumbs, some eggs, and I'm gonna add a 1/4 cup of water to this. I'm just stirring this to combine. 2 teaspoons of salt, 2 teaspoons of mustard powder, 1 tablespoon of brown sugar, some coriander, cinnamon, a pinch of cloves, 1/8 of a teaspoon of allspice, a 1/2 teaspoon of red pepper, some ground black pepper. I am using liquid smoke, which is a really strong smoky flavor. Add some chopped fresh parsley. Next, I'll add my onions and garlic, and I'll mix this up to combine the spices, and then I'll add the ground beef. This is looking good and combined. Now I'm gonna roll it into balls. I'm gonna bake these at 450 for 20 minutes until they're golden brown. So nice and brown. To assemble my bites, I've got some rye toasts here, and I'll add a drizzle of mustard, top it with a meatball, pickle slice, and a toothpick to hold it all together. I have to take a taste.
Easy and bright whipped ricotta with charred rosemary bread.
Oh, right here. We got the drink for it.
We sure do.
Perfect.
Now, before we all got together, I did some quick steeping on low of some olive oil and just 1 little sprig of rosemary. It's about 4 inches long, okay? You don't want to even see bubbles happen or simmering. You just want to steep it until the oil, just put your finger in there, take a taste, and it's like, oh, it tastes just like rosemary. We're good to go. And it's cool. So this is some ricotta. And have you guys ever whipped ricotta? Very easy. Whip it into shape.
I love it though. I mean, it's so versatile. It's becoming like the new cream cheese.
It really is, and I think, minimal ingredients, which is why I had some fun with the minimal ingredients I'm using today, like zhuzhing up the olive oil, making it taste like rosemary. So I'm gonna add in a couple of tablespoons of that. Thank you, Jeezy.
Very welcome.
Have you guys ever been to that restaurant in Tribeca, Lo Conde Verde?
Oh.
Where they have the really good whipped ricotta?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's great.
God,
haven't.
It's like you could just,
How do they
that's a
serve
meal.
it? How do they serve it?
Just on a little plate with olive oil, salt and pepper, and toasted bread.
Lily does
Yeah.
a great one too in
Yeah.
Brooklyn.
There's a
So
place
then
by me called Peanut Park that does it. And they put it on their like charred pepperoni pizza with the honey.
Oh,
it's like
geez.
it's piped on, so you just get a couple bites. of
It's
it.
also the easiest cheese
Magical.
to make.
It really
Literally,
is.
it takes you 2 minutes at home to make
Yeah,
it.
just blitz.
Wait, so Sonny, you put some lemon
Yeah,
zest in
so
there?
I put the lemon zest
lot.
that Jeezy hooked me up with, a little pinch of salt, maybe another one.
Yeah.
Hooked it up with some black pepper. I loosened up the top so I could get that really big, coarse grind.
Could you, if you wanted, just put 3 whole lemons in there with that and just blend
No,
it
I
up?
don't
No?
want to put
Blend it,
3
blend it.
whole lemons in
The
here.
Karen method?
Along with the actual seeds. That was crazy, Jeezy. And then just kind of move it around. This is it. I'm gonna get a spoon out and taste it before I, like Jeezy says, sign the painting. All right.
Jeffrey, this might be my favorite drink that you've
It is
ever made.
so much
I knew
fun.
I knew you
good.
were gonna love this. Because it's
I love
it's
it.
like the romance of the drink too,
love
right?
it.
It's
It
the
is.
romance.
And there you have it. I mean, that's pretty simple.
Now we're
right?
gonna have whipped ricotta with this drink.
I
I mean, it can't get any better than this.
It really can.
I almost wanna
it's a
cry.
Perfect pairing when you think about
could
it.
be on our way to
I'm gonna be in Florence.
When I used
Close my eyes.
when we used to spend our summers in Firenze, which is Florence in English, we used to like the whipped ricotta vendors on the street. Gus would pull up in the Cadillac, and they just open the door and they just fill the car with these beautiful little
Yeah,
snacks.
that doesn't actually work because you can't have a car in Florence. It's so small, there's no cars.
And then I'm just gonna char some bread. I've got my griddle here. Remember, we have the quick and easy steeped rosemary oil. Just gonna brush, settle it for me.
Here we go.
Get that
There we
on
go,
there.
Spoony G.
just
talk
drag
us
that-
through it.
Drag the spoon.
drag the spoon. That's it.
But you're doing it with okay.
It
Olive oil.
looks like mashed taters.
Olive oil is going on.
Sonny, I'm so excited to try this bread, but not as excited as I am for Selena Gomez's new Food Network show.
How dare you.
Selena Plus Restaurant. Selena's visiting all these restaurants with some of the best chefs in the country, and everyone from Wolfgang Puck and, of course, my friend Stephanie Izard's Girl in the Goat in Chicago on a quest to learn how to cook their most popular dishes. She even takes a stab at creating her own dish for the restaurant's menu. All right, we've even got a preview. Let's take a look.
Let's take a look.
Yeah,
Wow.
watch.
What the hell? Oh my God. Oh no! I can't do this.
Look at that,
God, look at
Selena.
that.
She does it all, doesn't she, huh?
She's amazing.
That smells good, actually. I think I smell the aroma of the
A
rosemary.
little rosemary waft, right? So I'm gonna finish off this beautiful topped dish that Jeezy did for me. I like to put a little bit of honey on my whipped
That's
ricotta.
huge.
Yeah, a little
Even the
honey.
hot honey. No, that hot honey there.
Yeah,
on
hot
pizza.
honey would be
Love that.
fun. You don't have to go too crazy
What about
with
a little
it.
bit more of that oil?
Yeah, that's happening too. Some nice flaky salt.
Oh, I love the flaky salt on it.
I think
bit
this
of
is
oil.
your first like Italian-influenced dish I've seen you cook on the show.
Oh, yeah?
Sonny, I've never seen you in this highway.
Well, you
This
know,
is highway.
I'm more of a Milan person.
Sicily.
I've never been to Florence, but I'm gonna have to go.
You cannot go because you
Talk
will
about
not
it
want.
so
you will want to
much.
stay there. I guarantee you.
I know.
You'll never come back.
Florence is incredible.
A little
never
crack
come
of
back.
pepper over the
So
top
much to
just to
do.
remind people what's going on inside.
I gotta retire.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
gotta retire.
I'll tell you, you're not ever retiring, Jeff.
Look at that.
Oh, dude. Come on,
Fantastic.
bro.
Beauty.
Hook it up.
Hook it up. Hook a guy up.
Look it up.
Beautiful.
Don't neglect that spoon method either, folks. Come
Yeah,
on, it makes a big difference.
Oh, I do it so many times on like hummus at home. It's just that's, you know, curb appeal that Jeezy always is good at giving us.
I mean, look at that.
So
Look
pretty.
at that.
Yeah,
Look at
I
it
You could also
stand
serve a
up.
little crudité on the side of this
Yeah.
and use the ricotta for dip.
All right, here we go.
Come on.
Ooh, that's
Go ahead. Go in there, Jeff. Go, go, go.
Yeah, fresh.
I mean, all right, I thumbed it. What, 3 and 4 ingredients? I don't know.
Yeah,
3?
the ricotta,
4?
lemon zest, the rosemary, the olive oil, salt, pepper.
This, like, to me,
Lemon
destroys
juice.
any dip, any hummus, anything that you make from scratch to serve to your loved ones.
So I've got butter and olive oil in a skillet, and I just added some onion, garlic, thyme, and rosemary, and I chopped them really fine, and I'm cooking the onions. They're already sizzling away. And then now come the mushrooms. Now I just need to cook the mushrooms for about 3 minutes. Okay, the mushrooms look great, so I'm going to pour in probably a 1/4 cup of red wine, and then I'm gonna turn the heat way up and just stir these until they've absorbed basically all of the wine they can possibly absorb, and everything has been reduced. Look at those beautiful mushrooms. So I'm gonna turn off the heat, and I'm going to start on the baked brie process. So baked brie uses puff pastry. This is frozen puff pastry, and I let it thaw overnight in the fridge, and then I took it out about an hour ago, so it's pretty soft. So basically you wanna pile the mushrooms right in the center, and then just a wheel of brie. I leave the rind on, it's just a personal preference. Kind of smush it into the mushrooms. And then you just bring up the sides of the puff pastry, and you are basically enclosing the brie in the pastry. So look. Now you can bake it like that, but I intentionally put the mushrooms on the bottom of the brie because I flipped it over and now they're on top. And then I have a simple egg wash, and it's just egg and water, and I whisked it together, and I'm brushing it all over the surface. So I'm gonna bake the brie at 375 degrees for about 30 to 35 minutes until it's golden. Let's check out this beautiful baked brie. Oh, comes right off that parchment. How beautiful. So I'm just doing some circles of crostini. I'm gonna put a little sprig of rosemary on top. Got some cranberries. I love it. I absolutely love it. I think this is gorgeous, and it's just as perfect with, you know, like your spouse, your sweetie, as it is for a party. So it's just one of those things that no one ever doesn't love. So you've got to get in here and look at this, Alex. Look. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my
gosh, it's a lava flow. It's beautiful. I better get in here before it runs off the side. Look at this. And the mushrooms. Honey baby.
I'm slicing some thin Honeycrisp apples, my favorite kind of apple. I have some toast in the oven that I'm toasting for a crostino. Thin slices of apples. Hello, little cuties. So I'm gonna just cut these in half and serve 2 halves per person. I have some really lovely artisan cheddar cheese. It's at room temperature. I've grated it up. I'm gonna toss these back in the oven for about 7 to 8 minutes until the cheese gets nice and bubbly. But I'm not gonna do that until, about 7 to 8 minutes before I'm ready to eat these. So I'm just getting these ready and keeping these just hanging out. I'm gonna go ahead and do some bacon and dandelion greens for my crostini. I'm gonna do 8 slices. I crisped these guys up and I'm going to top my crostini with them. I have a nice pan full of a little brown and bacon in there. I'm gonna give it a little shot of apple cider vinegar. Oh, yes. I'm gonna reduce that down and I'm going to toss my dandelion greens in there. All right, so I just wanna wilt my dandelion greens. I'm gonna top my crostini with my bacon and finish it with a little bit of this wilted greens. Oh, look at me. So here we go. I have my crostini, my cheddar and bacon and Honeycrisp apple crostini. Look at that. I rendered the bacon. I have crostini that I put super thinly sliced apples and cheddar, artisanal cheddar cheese. Ooh. On here, I rendered some bacon and then tossed everybody in the oven after the cheese was nice and melty, just to really say, hey, let's bring this party together. So I have some dandelion greens that I tossed with a little bit of apple cider vinegar. Yes, why? Because apples and apple cider, hello, goes very nicely together. And look how pretty that looks. I'm gonna eat this right now. This is my little appetizer, so I'm gonna be appetizing. Oh, yes, that is good stuff. Salty bacon, salty smoky bacon, sharp cheddar, sweet apples, and that little poke of the bitter dandelions with the vinegar on there. Good thing.
Antipasto salad with prosciutto-wrapped breadsticks. I'm gonna make the dressing first, and I'm gonna start with 2 tablespoons of olive brine since I'm gonna be topping the salad with a bunch of olives. And this is gonna add really nice acidity and a lot of salt. So I'm not gonna need to add any more salt after the brine. I'll add a teaspoon of mustard, add that little zinginess. I'll whisk this together. And as I whisk, I'm gonna drizzle in some olive oil. Okay, this says thicken, it's creamy. I'm gonna add some black pepper. And that's it for the dressing. I'll grab the greens. I'm using a mix of spinach and arugula here. Spinach is just great and tender, and arugula gives that awesome peppery bite. I wanna toss it with my dressing, and I'm doing it now because once all of the antipasto toppings are on there, I don't wanna have to toss it because they're so pretty as they are. I'll get these completely coated. And I always use a nice big, wide serving platter for this. And now I'll pretty up this salad with some beautiful antipasto elements. Here are all of my favorite foods, a bunch of cheese and loads of meat, and now I'm gonna pile them on top of these greens. I'm gonna start with some Parmesan cheese, and I love to really bite into my Parmesan cheese, so rather than grating it, I've crumbled it, and I'm gonna keep all of the toppings in their own little piles. That way people can grab the things that they like and arrange their own salad adventure. Next, I'd like to do the olives. Ugh, I love olives. I used to hate olives, but learning to love olives is just part of becoming a grown-up. I'll add some roasted red peppers for color and smokiness. I like this salad in the dead of winter when it's sometimes hard to come across good fresh vegetables. It's a good standby. A few creamy artichokes. A big ol' handful of salty, fatty salami. You'll find me at this section of the salad plate. Some pickled sweet peppers. Wow, these are so bright. Some juicy tomatoes. Put them right next to the Parmesan because tomatoes need a little salt and Parmesan is really salty. A perfect pair. I'm leaving a section in the center for some marinated mozzarella balls because they look really cute. I'll tear them up and plop them in the middle. So this salad is inspired by this gigantic antipasto spread at this restaurant right behind Carnegie Hall. I used to go there with my dad after he would play concerts there, and it was the best thing ever. There was so much cheese and meat. And now there's one last open spot. I'll slice up a sweet pear. I'll pile these right on and drizzle them with a little balsamic glaze. It's sweet and sticky and really pretty. And now comes the time when I get to wrap these breadsticks with prosciutto, which is really good. They get a little soft when they're wrapped in prosciutto because they soak up the fat, and they're fun to eat. So I'm gonna take half a slice of prosciutto and just wrap it around a breadstick. Just like that. I'll plop this on the salad and then keep unwrapping. Prosciutto is so good. How pretty is this? And now for the final touch, I'll tear some fresh basil all over. Fresh basil makes me feel like I'm in Italy.
And we are baking this brie in a bread bowl. Starting with a great fresh bread bowl here, right? So we're gonna slop the top off of this.
What kind of bread is that, Jeff?
This is just regular white bread, French boule or whatever. You can, just make sure it's round. You'll see why in a second, okay? So we're gonna go about a third of the way down, kind of lop the top off that, third of the way down. Now we're gonna save this for a little bit. Now we're gonna take our brie, kind of measure it up right in the center of that, and cut around the brie. Do you see what I'm getting at, Jeffrey?
Measure
Right?
twice, cut once.
Exactly. So we're gonna, right? So now we can return the brie back to our little board here. Now we got this nice little cut. You can use a serrated, depending on how soft and fresh. This is, you don't want to use old bread for this. You do want it to be fresh, right? You want it to kind of have that chew and crackly nature to it. And then we're just gonna pull this out.
Jeff, it looks like you also cut the top off the brie and the bread.
Yes.
Both of them.
Good observation.
Shiny.
Sorry, we cut the rind off the top of the brie, so it's easier to dunk into and scoop.
Right.
That's a hard time. Once that brie hits room temperature, it's like you gotta saw through it sometimes. So this way, it makes the dunkability that much greater. Next, we take this habanero jelly, a spicy jalapeno jam.
love it.
Play around with it. This is just a great, sweet, spicy, always pairs well with brie. We are gonna coat the bottom of this bowl here with that. So much fun, right? Now we're gonna put a little olive oil just to kind of leave a little more, luxuriousness and a little fat in there. So now we're gonna take this and start all the way up to the kind of edge here. Make these little slits in there. So we're gonna make all those cuts. The brie goes right in the center. Since we measured it, it fits like a glove. Look at that. Nestle it in there. It's gonna melt, okay? I'm gonna hit this with a little more. Beautiful. And then we're gonna put the top on. Goes in the oven, 350 degrees for 20 minutes. And then the magic really happens, okay? All right, you ready?
I call the top.
Ready?
I call the top.
Stop it right now.
Look, show
I
that.
called the top.
That's going in a doggy bag. So I'm just gonna add some pomegranate seeds for some festive color and texture and tang. By all means,
We go
kids.
in there?
Look at that, just pulls right out of there. I like how, Katie went for an apple.
I love the apple
Sonny,
brie.
epic.
I love the stinky brie thing. It's so good.
I could eat the whole
So
thing.
creamy and rich. This is really fabulous.
So I've got my little dough balls over here that I'm gonna use to make some crackers for our roasted garlic dip. So this is the same dough I used for my calzones. So I'm going to run it through my pasta roller, not just for pasta anymore. Then I'm gonna give it a brush with some egg wash and then top it with some grated Asiago cheese, little cheesy stuff, and just for fun, a little cayenne pepper. So I'm whipping together my little topper. So if you like to be super spicy, be super spicy. If not, hey, if you want to use Parmesan cheese, since we used it in our filling, go ahead and knock yourself out as well. I just like that salty, crunchy, spicy kind of stuff on the top of my my cracker. So my little dough balls have been rising. I'm gonna just give them a little flatten out, and I'm gonna run them through my pasta roller so they get really long and thin, probably about 1/8 of an inch or so. I start at number 1, and I'm gonna go to probably 6 or 7. So my last pass, look at this. Nice thin dough, and it's gonna make a nice crispy, crunchy cracker. Good stuff. All right, so I'm just gonna lay this out on my board. I'm gonna cut it into a manageable length. Give it a little brush with some egg wash, just so my cheese and pepper will stick to it. Grab a landing place for these, and a little sprinkle. Oh yeah, just so this sticks. We like sticky stuff. This Asiago and cayenne is gonna be great with the garlic. So I'm just gonna cut them into triangles. Look at those little cuties. Onto our tray, and when my garlic and calzones come out of the oven, I'm gonna pop these guys into the same 350-degree oven for about 10 to 12 minutes. And I'm just finishing up my roasted garlic dip. I had a couple bulbs of elephant garlic, big, huge bulbs of garlic. I tossed them in the oven with nothing. I'm getting these a little pulsed up. I roasted them for about 30 minutes till they're soft, and then I'm gonna add some yummy flavor to this. So I'm gonna add, of course, some salt. Why? Because it makes things taste yummy. And I'm gonna add a little cheesy stuff. Why? Because it's delicious and I like it. And we put these on our crackers, which are just about to come out of the oven. So our crackers, we use the same dough as we did for our calzones, our little calzone party happening around here today. I rolled them through a pasta machine. I brushed it with a little egg wash, and then put a little Asiago cheese and cayenne pepper on there. So now we're just making this sort of dippy. So I'm adding a little oil. If you like it a little looser or a little thicker, you know, you can be the judge of that. Let's see what we got going on there. One more little drop. All right, that is looking good. So I'm gonna grab a little spatula, a little rubber spat, and let's give a rub down, and let's taste it. Let's see where we're at with this. It smells delicious. The roasted garlic smells like really nutty and, oh yeah, baby. That's good. It's amazing. It's far more mild than it actually smells, and because we used elephant garlic.
Spinach and feta arugula are flaky and golden, and they've got a cream spinach filling on the inside. So to start, I'm making my spinach filling. I've got some butter and onion cooking away in my saute pan, and I'm just cooking this onion until it's soft and translucent. And now I'm gonna add lots of chopped garlic. I'm gonna cook this for just about a minute until I can start to smell the garlic. And then I'll add 2 tablespoons of flour, which will help thicken my spinach mixture. And I wanna cook this for another minute just to get rid of that floury flavor. All right, I have frozen spinach here that I thawed and drained, and I'll just add this right to the pan. I'm gonna add 3 tablespoons of heavy cream. This is a really nice, rich cream spinach. And I'll stir this in, and that flour is gonna thicken the heavy cream and hold everything together. And now I'll add 3/4 of a cup of crumbled feta. Feta is nice and salty. It'll make all of these flavors pop. I'm gonna brighten this up with a squeeze of lemon juice. Just a bit. I don't want it to taste lemony. I just want it to be brighter. And then a few shakes of hot sauce, just for some heat. I'll get some pepper in there. Let me stir this around. Oh, this is looking good. It's really creamy. Needs a little bit more salt. Just get a nice pinch in there. Okay, this is ready to go. I'm gonna let it cool slightly while I grab my pie dough. Homemade or store-bought will do. And I rolled these out until they're about 11 or 12 inches in diameter. And now I'll spread my spinach filling right on top of the pie dough. Now I'll use my offset spatula to spread the spinach mixture all over the top of the pie dough in one thin layer. Okay, this looks great. Now I'm gonna cut each of my circles into 8 equal wedges, and then I'll roll them up. And now starting at the wide edge, I'll roll into the center. just like so. Okay, now I'm gonna grab some parchment from my baking sheet. And I'll arrange these. And to finish off my arugula, I'll brush them with egg wash, which will help them get golden and shiny on top. And lastly, a pinch of flaky salt. Now these will bake at 425 for about 20 minutes until they're golden brown. I'm gonna check on my arugula now. Oh. They smell like buttery pie dough and they look gorgeous. Okay, I'm gonna let these cool slightly and then they'll be ready for the party.
Gooey Brie Crescent wreath. So it started out with good old crescent rolls from the can that you buy in the refrigerated section of the grocery store. And I actually separated all of the little triangles first. And then I put a bowl in the center of a parchment lined sheet pan. And I am gonna make sort of a star going around this bowl. I'm gonna keep going until I've got all the triangles on the pan. I got all these laid out, so look at this, Alex. I'm going around where all of these pieces of crescent dough are overlapping, and I'm just pressing them to kind of close the seams and give us a little flat surface to work with. Okay, so for one of the cranberry elements, I'm doing cranberry jelly, and I'm gonna spoon probably a total of 1/3 cup on the solid section. All right, and then I'll kind of smear it around. And the bowl comes in handy because then you don't get the gooey stuff in the very center. All right, and then the brie. Oh my gosh, I love brie cheese. I've just got a wheel of brie that I cut into pieces. You can cut the rind off if you want to, but you don't have to. Delicious. The combination of brie and cranberry is pure magic. And then I've got some pistachios, which is so great, both from a crunch and flavor perspective, but also from a color perspective. And then for a second cranberry punch, dried cranberries. All right, so now I'm gonna take out the bowl, if I can. There we go. And then I'm gonna fold the end over into the center, and then you just tuck the little point neatly. And then I'm gonna do the same thing all around, and I'm gonna try to leave as few gaps as I possibly can. Okay, so I got that all formed, and you can see, Alex, there really aren't any big gaps, because just think of the gaps as a breach.
A brie.
Through which the brie can ooze, and you don't want that to happen. So after you've got the wreath formed, I've got a beaten egg, and I'm just gonna brush the egg over the surface of the very fine crescent roll dough. All right, and then after you get it totally brushed with egg, sprinkle on some rosemary.
Wow.
Oh, wow, the flavors are amazing. And this is so perfect right before Thanksgiving meal. If everybody comes to your host's house really hungry. All right, and then some sea salt. All right, let's put this into the oven. Look how cool this looks.
It looks so good.
It's gonna bake at 375 degrees for about 18 to 20 minutes. And you are gonna fall madly in love with what it looks like. All right, Alex, look how beautiful.
Wow.
Gorgeous, isn't it?
Turned out so beautiful.
It really did. And so I'll show you how I like to serve it. I've got a little tray. You definitely want to let it cool before you transfer it off the pan, just to make sure it's not too soft and gooey. So
Wow. Great work.
get it onto the tray. And then if you're serving it right away, this is how I like to do it. So the first thing is a little bit of honey. Gives it a little bit of sweetness, and it gives the pistachios that you're gonna garnish it with something to stick to, something to cling to. We all need something to cling to. All right, and then some more dried cranberries, just for kicks. Isn't this gorgeous? And then just some beautiful little sprigs of rosemary here and there. Oh my.
My potato latkes with caramelized onion sour cream are to die for. They're crispy and golden on the outside, but thick enough so that the innards are like still a little creamy. You're getting multiple textures in each bite. I'm gonna eat so many of these. To start, I'm shredding up some potatoes in my food processor. This is the quickest, easiest way to do them, and I don't even peel my potatoes. I love the texture of the peels, and they're really pretty that way. I like using russets because they're really sturdy. They're gonna hold up to all that frying. I'm also gonna add 2 onions that I'm gonna add right to the food processor. I'll quarter them first so that they fit. And you can shred potatoes by hand, but it is much faster to just do this in the food processor. Filling the onion juices in the air. For extra flavor, I'm also gonna add 4 cloves of garlic. I'll just toss these right in. Now, one step that is key to a crispy latke is drawing the moisture out of the potatoes. So I've got a strainer here with some cheesecloth over it, and it's set over a bowl to catch all the moisture. I'm gonna pour these into my strainer with the cheesecloth in it. Look at those beautiful thick shreds of potato. And now we'll toss this with salt, and the salt is gonna help draw that moisture out. I'm making sure that the salt gets evenly distributed, and just a few good big pinches will do. I'm gonna let this sit now for 30 minutes to let the moisture come out of the potatoes. Be patient with this step. It's worth it in the name of a crispy latke. My mom's the OG latke expert of the family.
Thank you.
So will you help me make these?
Of course.
They should be ready to go. We can mix up the remaining mixture.
Okay.
So in this big bowl, we're gonna add 4 eggs.
Okay.
Do you wanna grab a fork and you can mix them as I crack?
Absolutely.
You wanna add the potato mixture.
Okay.
You can dump that right in. I'm gonna add some lemon juice, and the lemon juice is gonna prevent the potato from turning gray.
And also add that nice hit of acid, which is the best.
Next, I'm gonna chop up some scallions to add. You wanna season with some pepper.
Okay.
And there's still a lot of salt left over from when the potatoes
Okay, so
drained,
no more
we don't
salt.
need to add more salt. I'm gonna grab the breadcrumbs.
Okay.
Let me grab that measuring cup. I'm gonna add 2/3 of a cup of panko breadcrumbs. I have my oil heating up here. So to test that the oil is hot enough, you can just add a strand of potato, and if it sizzles, it's ready. I'm gonna add a big scoop of the potato mixture to the oil. I'll smash them down, and then I always like to use my spatula to help shape them into a round puck. My mom is finishing frying the latkes, and now they just need a topping. I got a head start this morning with some caramelized onions, which were super easy. I just added a little oil in a pan over medium-high heat, tossed in a yellow onion with a little salt and sugar, and cooked down for about 45 minutes until they were deep golden brown and sweet. Then I added a few cloves of minced garlic and cooked that with the onions until it became fragrant and irresistible. And now I'm gonna add about a cup of sour cream. I'm gonna add some onion powder to the sour cream, which is gonna punch up that oniony flavor. And then I'll also season with salt and pepper.
These look amazing. Look at that. Look at that color.
They look incredible. I cannot wait to eat those.
They're beautiful.
Get a little salt on this one.
What a team we make.
I'm gonna finish the sour cream with some chopped scallions.
Gorgeous.
Oh yeah, this looks great.
I love that they're thicker than the ones we used to make. This is so much better.
Yeah, hockey puck size is the perfect size.
Definitely.
A hearty, warming puree of roasted acorn squash, shallots and herbs, and a swirl of heavy cream, topped with a peppery pistachio Parmesan crostini. Each bowlful looks great, and it even tastes better. I've got some acorn squash in the oven, kind of roasting down. I'm gonna start some shallots with a little bit of this olive oil, kind of caramelize these bad boys up. It's gonna be the basis of the soup. Okay, so I'm gonna get these down. Pan was super hot, so I didn't put my butter in yet, but let me throw a little butter in now. Some great flavor out of this. Okay, we'll just reduce the heat a little bit. Dutch oven was waiting for me to hurry up. And let them kind of go low and slow. I really want to pull some of the flavor out of this and let these caramelize. Let's take a look at that squash. That's what I'm talking about. Look at those bad boys all roasted up. The garlic in there, even a little bit of moisture inside of it, that's all flavor. My shallots look really nice in here. Now it's time to deglaze the bottom of this pan. We'll grab a little chicken stock for that. So that's what we've got. We're letting the acorn squash kind of cool down before we scoop it out, get into here. I'm gonna deglaze with the chicken stock. This will be the base of the soup. Outrageous. I think it'd just be great like this, but we're making this dynamite soup, and I got some shallots and chicken stock doing time over here, simmering nicely. And inside of the squash and the cavities, I put some shallots, so that roasted with them. Those are gonna go right into the soup. Actually, everybody's gonna go into the soup. Let me see, I've got the shallots, some roasted garlic. That'll be really nice. And then the squash meat itself goes right in. That'll make it nice and creamy. Just a touch of cayenne. Not too much, about a 1/4 teaspoon. And about the same on the white pepper. A little dried sage, we all know what that's like, the rub sage, okay? And then some savory, which you don't hear a lot of times. And this has kind of got like a little lemony, almost dried arugula idea, but a little bit more citrusy, okay? Some Worcestershire sauce, a tablespoon of that in. Okay, so let me just give this a quick little buzz. These immersion blenders, I love them because we don't have to take all the soup out and hit it into the blender right now and then pour it back in because I want to continue cooking. I just sit here and do this, kind of get all the big pieces ground up, let it continue to simmer. Over to this acorn squash soup. Little olive oil goes in, some grated Parmesan cheese, just a touch. Adds a little bit of salt to that, but this was seasoned really nice. So we'll stir that around. Okay, now look at these crostinis I got sitting over here. Chopped up some pistachios, hit a little Parmesan cheese, buttered up that baguette, popped it in the oven, and look at that. This is not your everyday soup, but tell me that's not gonna be nice and hearty on a cold winter day, especially during the holidays. I'll just put a little, you see here, I'll use my spoon so it doesn't just kind of clump right in the middle. There we go. I like that one. Float that bad boy right on top of there. And now let me get a taste of that. The roasted acorn, the garlic was roasted with it, the shallots, the chicken stock, the savory.
I'm making deviled eggs, but they're not any old plain deviled eggs. I'm adding a fried shrimp on top. I am going to let my shrimp sit in the buttermilk and then get started on my egg. Okay, so I have a little bit of salt and pepper that I'm adding to this bowl, which has some buttermilk in it. I have about 1 pound of Charleston white shrimp that I have peeled and deveined. Putting it in the buttermilk helps that coating adhere to the shrimp because, I mean, shrimp doesn't have skin on it, so it needs something to help it stick, and that's what that buttermilk does. Now, if you don't live in a coastal area like I do, you can always use frozen. Just make sure it's thawed. Make sure it's nice and coated with that buttermilk. I have 12 extra large hard-boiled eggs here. I'm gonna use a food processor to make my filling. So I'm just gonna dump the yolk in there, and then I have this cute little tray here that I'm gonna put each half on. All right, so for the rest of the ingredients in here, I have my egg yolk. I'm gonna add a little mayo, that's a really good mayo. A little yellow mustard. You gotta have that yellow mustard in there. A little sour cream, some sweet relish, a little salt, a pinch of my house seasoning. You don't want to make it too salty. And some freshly cracked black pepper. All right, so I'm just going to turn this on until it becomes smooth. I like putting my yolk mixture in the food processor because I pipe this out into each individual half, so it comes out really, really smooth. All right, so I have a jar here to help keep that nice and sturdy while I add my yolk. Yummy. I have a star tip on my piping bag. Hear my grandma and my mom talking right now. Don't you waste that, get all of that out of there. So I'm just piping this. So I'm starting off like that, kind of holding my bag not too tight because I don't want too much to come out at one time, and just gliding it up just like that. It's gonna be like the bed for my fried shrimp. Those look beautiful. Now I'm going to dredge and fry my shrimp. I'm going to combine 1 cup of all-purpose flour, about a half a cup of yellow cornmeal, and that's going to make it really crunchy. A little seafood seasoning, and a little extra pinch of salt. Mix it all together. Taking my shrimp that has been sitting in that buttermilk and just dredging, and I dredge the tail as well. All right, I have my oil heated to 350. I'm gonna fry these in batches until they're golden brown. This is gonna be my first batch. Now, shrimp does not take long to cook, 3 to 4 minutes. I have some neutral oil here, some canola oil. You can use vegetable if you'd like. I stick between canola and vegetable oil. Give that about 3 or 4 minutes. Ooh, these are pretty. All right, I believe these are done. Look how pretty they are. And let me tell you something, you'll know if you've overcooked shrimp if they get a really, really tight curl. I'm gonna build myself an egg. Oh, that's really good. It's delicious.
I like dates, but bacon makes it better. Let's talk dates. We have a date with the dates. We're gonna make a little sort of appetizer, sort of a little hors d'oeuvre, if you will, of a stuffed date with some manchego cheese wrapped in bacon. We're gonna bake that, and then we're going to brush it with some maple syrup. So we've got so many beautiful flavors going on here. We've got tangy, salty cheese. We have chewy, sweet dates. We've got crispy bacon, and then sticky maple syrup on the outside. Just so many flavors going on right in my mouth. I love that one. So I've got a little tray I'm gonna get everybody ready on. All right. I want to have my cheese fit right inside my date. So I'm saying, I think that's just about the right size. So we're gonna make little logs, little cheese logs. And then we're gonna slice my date just on one side. So we're gonna wiggle the cheese right in there. All right. Make sure our plastic is all removed. Okay, so look at this. I'm gonna wrap my date around my cheese, kind of stick it shut. And then I'm gonna take some bacon. Hello, bacon. Bacon, look, we've got pork for dinner. We've got pork in our appetizer. Bacon makes it better. I love that one. So I've got some bacon slices. I'm gonna use about 1/3 of a bacon slice. We just want to give our date a little bacony goodness hug. Look at that. That's a bacon hug if I ever saw one. And we just secure it with a little toothpick. Here we go. Stick it shut. Hey, come on. Give it a nicer hug than that. There we go. Okay, look at my cutie little date night. Hello, darlings. We're gonna put these guys in the oven for about 6 minutes. We're gonna turn them over and roast them for 6 more minutes at 400 degrees, and then we're gonna give them a little maple syrup bath to make them nice and sticky. So my dates have been in the oven for 12 minutes, 6 minutes on each side, and I'm gonna go ahead and brush them with some sticky stuff now. Got some maple syrup, real maple syrup, by the way. I'm just gonna pour a little bit here so I can brush them, and then I'm gonna toss them back in the oven for about 3 minutes so it gets on there and it gets sticky and crackly and delicious. So my dates are wrapped with bacon. Ooh, hello, cuties. Anything with bacon makes me happy. Cheesy bacon goodness. Oh, look at these beauties. So my pork is doing beautifully. Smells so good. Bacon smells amazing. So let's brush these guys. Oh, yeah. Nice and sticky. Sticky little babies. And the salty bacon, the tangy cheese, and the sweet date and the sweet maple syrup, a beautiful combination. Nice and little sticked up here. Alrighty. Couple more. Look at these. The bacon smells amazing. All right, so back in the oven with these guys for about 2 to 3 minutes until we see them looking all like sort of crackly and sort of burnt. We have to be careful though, because the maple syrup, very high sugar content and can burn easily. So we can take something delightfully delicious and have it go south really quick. So just 2 to 3 minutes in there. And look at my lovely little dates. I'm doing a little toothpick removal. We don't need to pick our teeth and eat a little hors d'oeuvre at the same time. So my bacon wrapped dates stuffed with manchego cheese and then tossed in the oven at 400 degrees for about 12 minutes, 6 on each side. Look at them and brushed with maple syrup so they're nice and sticky. I have my beautiful little dates that are stuffed with Spanish cheese, manchego, Spanish sheep's milk cheese. So I'm having a little Albarino to go with it. It's a Spanish white wine. That's the grape name, Albarino. And it is delightful and crisp and palate cleansing and will go beautifully with my date. Bacon and gamey and sweet and sticky. And bright and palate cleansing. Oh, these are delightful together.
Iron Chef spicy shrimp cocktail. So, 2 bay leaves, water, no salt, none, 0, peppercorns. End of story.
Bold!
Right here, I have my shrimp. They're U16, U12, U11, it's per pound. So U16 are slightly smaller, U8s are jumbos, big ones. Anything too big, it becomes like a first course entree. It's chewy, it's too much shrimp at one time.
Yeah.
This is something you should dip with the tail into the sauce, eat it, throw this tail away, and go back for more right away.
So just to clarify, U12 means a pound is under 12 pieces.
Yes.
Is a pound in weight, which is a medium size. So a U8 under 8 is bigger.
Giant.
As the numbers get smaller, the shrimp gets bigger.
U1's a lobster.
Are you ready? Ketchup. Do you use ketchup when you're making this?
Love.
Okay.
What else would you use?
Well, there's other chili sauce and stuff like that.
No.
I use ketchup.
That's the best.
Okay.
The shinier, the better.
Yeah. Horseradish, like so much, it's ridiculous.
Jeffrey, that is a lot of
Yes, it is.
horseradish.
Okay, be careful.
Hot sauce?
Who are you?
A little bit of chili,
Oh, a little chili
sweet chili
sauce.
glaze, yeah.
Chili glaze. Wow.
Lemon juice. Whoa. Worcestershire sauce.
There it is from the hometown.
I can't with the sweet chili sauce. That really surprised me. I
That's
love
it.
that.
So it should not appear red. It should appear almost like that. You see that? We're gonna let that sit and hang out. Now, our shrimp are going in.
Uh-oh.
Right here. I let that cook just for a little bit, just to get some of that. It's changed color. The peppercorn has changed color of the water. In boiling water. And now what we're gonna do is the most important thing. I don't keep my shrimp on ice. I don't put my shrimp in an ice bath after, because guess what they soak up? Water.
Water.
And I put them in the fridge after I cook them on this right away.
No shocking.
No shocking whatsoever, because it's another step, it's another waste of water and waste of time in a dish you gotta prepare. It shouldn't be hard to do this. This shrimp was thawed in the fridge overnight. I bought it peeled, cleaned, ready to go, frozen.
Wow.
Okay? You don't have to buy fresh shrimp for this. So now we're just gonna mend, and we're gonna take our time and look at this. You see?
What
right
are
away,
you
they're always starting to curl a bit. So if you can see right now, they're starting to get white and translucent. This is gonna take not a lot of time, but you must cook them fully. I would err on the side of, should I say this? Of slightly overcooking them. If you're gonna go this route, be careful, you don't wanna undercook them.
Somebody write down the
shrimp.
date.
The nose heat is getting to his brain, I
Yeah,
think.
When you cut a shrimp in half that's cooked, it should be white the whole time.
You're moving them around a lot as
I
you
am.
cook. Why are you doing that?
Just because they'll cook evenly. This is just a little method. I don't have a lot of water. I don't have this big pot of water.
not a
These
boil.
go right on a paper towel.
You did it.
They're fully cooked. I'm gonna let you just take a smell of that. And you tell me what you smell. Just pass it down.
Just shrimp.
Okay, you don't smell lemon?
You don't spell
Yeah.
Smell the
5,000
shrimp.
exotic, weird.
It smells like shrimp cocktail. The good ones
Old-fashioned.
smell. Old-fashioned.
Shrimp cocktail. In the fridge, just like this, uncovered. In 5 minutes, it cools down. You're ready to serve it. That's it.
Can you blast chill it in the freezer?
Nah, you don't
Feeling
have to do
frisky?
that. Don't waste your time.
All right.
Put some more Sinatra on, make another martini.
There you go.
Okay.
That sounds delicious. A dirty martini and a shrimp
Oh,
cocktail?
nothing like it. Now, I don't
Get
put
it
these
hot.
on ice. When I serve them, shock them, or store them. They're always off ice. You put these out in small quantities, not large quantities, so they get eaten, then you take out more small quantities and fill up. You don't put like a whole stuff on ice. I hate them when they're on ice, because invariably you get a piece of ice and you're eating ice.
I hate that.
Okay, you ready? Here's our beautiful spicy sauce. This should destroy my nose. And that's where I like it to be
Wow,
at.
very aggressive approach.
Jeffrey.
Like your septum's gonna melt.
Here we go.
Ooh.
Ready?
Oh my
Stage
God.
5 clinger.
My mouth is watering.
It is. Snappy. Snappy the shrimp. Uh-oh.
Good. You saw the horseradish. It's not too much. The sweet chili sauce actually tames it down. The long-range effect of this is you want more, and that's what a shrimp cocktail should want you to make. And this is so delicious. This sauce I just made for you, you can make a big batch of it. It's one of these things that lasts, actually gets better.
So sometimes I like to use fresh herbs, but I want to flake these off their stems and just get the good stuff. So I'll just heat a little olive oil and fry those up. And already it feels kind of chefy and steakhousey in here. I'll take that out after just a minute or so. Season them with a touch of salt just to let them know that we love them and we're thinking about them. Now, I've also managed not only to fry my thyme so that it's gonna be nice and easy to flake off the stem, but I've flavored my oil with that thyme, which is kind of exciting. So I take my onion, about 1 good onion's worth, and drop that right in that wonderful thyme oil. So right away when I add something to my pan, I pay the salt tax by adding just a touch. That's gonna help draw out the water, and some freshly ground pepper. Now I want to add the garlic. Now you can save yourself the tears and trouble of mincing by just grating the garlic. Okay, so just the foundation of that thyme oil and the onion, and we add that garlic right in there. Look at that, scrape that right off. Stir that in, and we're gonna cook the garlic for about 30 seconds. So to that, I'm just gonna add a tiny bit of personality. Half a teaspoon of cumin. Just add that right in, give it a nice stir. But what about the mushrooms? So I'm gonna take a little sour cream and Parmesan cheese and the mushrooms. Now, as a chef, I deal a lot of the time with very expensive, fancy mushrooms. But when I'm at home and I want real meaty, steaky flavor, I go for the white button. It's that secret supermarket weapon, and it's lonely and waiting for you to recognize its fabulousness. Take a nice dry pastry brush and just brush off any dirt from the exterior. You see that? So I'll set aside about 18 mushrooms, and those will be the ones we stuff. And then the rest, which is about 15, we're gonna put in our stuffing. And just slice these. Now these mushrooms are filled with water. So at this point, you really wanna turn the heat up kinda high, and don't be afraid, to draw out the liquid. Now, for my bottoms, I just want to trim the stem off. Why not add those stems right in there? Why waste anything? Now, I'm a big fan of dry vermouth. It just adds this wonderful, almost tang. Just add in a 1/4 cup. Give that a stir. While that's bubbling away and getting fabulous, we're gonna cook our bottoms at the same time. And take about a 1/2 stick of butter. And then add those mushroom tops back in there. So, to bring this all together and give it that nice tang, I'm gonna add a cup of sour cream to that. Oh my God. And you see that these are no longer sliced mushrooms with garlic and onions, but they are a stuffing to end all stuffings that just belong with a steak. Now, let's not forget about our buddy thyme that we crisped up. Because it's been lightly fried in our oil, it just flakes right off. And I have to taste it. I don't really have to taste it, but how can I not? Now the sour cream offers that tang, but it's that wonderful meatiness of the white mushroom that really comes through. How about a little Parmesan cheese? Just adds that natural saltiness to it. I've measured 1/3 cup, but let's face it, I like to call this an Italian 1/3 cup, which means it might get closer to a cup. Okay, so this is definitely more than 1/3 cup. But that's part of the fun of cooking at home. You can do what you want, no one's looking. There's no Parmesan police. Half of this I'm just gonna add straight into my stuffing, and that's gonna help thicken the stuffing and bring it together. And the other half of the Parmesan cheese, I'm gonna mix with 2 tablespoons of toasted breadcrumbs. So I've got a baking sheet, because we're gonna cook these stuffed mushroom caps in the oven. Pour them out. Look at how shiny and glazed and gorgeous they look. Take a nice bit of this stuffing, just pop that right on top. So I'm gonna stuff the rest of these, pop them in the oven at 350 degrees, and cook them just till they kind of go rrr. And they all become one. And then we're gonna cook those mushrooms in the oven, sear that porterhouse in my trusty cast iron skillet, and sit down to an unforgettable meal.
The method I think I use the most, is particularly for salads, is bone-in, skin-on chicken breasts. And I'm just gonna show you how I do it. Olive oil, salt and pepper. It's as easy as that. So, olive oil, salt and pepper. Lots of pepper. You want to have lots of flavor. In the oven, 350 degrees for 35 to 40 minutes, and it comes out perfectly every time. First, I've got the chicken, but in the same oven, I've cooked some bacon. And still in the same oven, I roasted some nuts. It's actually walnuts, cashews, and almonds. And I just roasted them for like 10 minutes. It really brings out the flavor. Okay, those are the components. Now we're gonna make the vinaigrette. So the first thing is olive oil. I need 2/3 of a cup of olive oil, 3 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. Next thing is mustard. Give it a little heat. I love to add mustard to vinaigrette because it emulsifies it. 2 teaspoons of honey. Just a little bit of sweetness is nice. And then 1.5 teaspoons of salt. I want to have lots of flavor. 1/2 teaspoon of pepper. Give it a whisk. And that's the vinaigrette. I just kind of, with my hands, just do large shreds of chicken. The next thing is bacon. It's nice and cool now. And I'm just gonna dice it up. And next, I've got all kinds of lettuces to put in. I've got kale and frisee. Got them all washed and dried. And you want to be sure to spin dry them really well, because if they're wet, the vinaigrette won't stick to it. And the next thing is spinach. And I use baby spinach leaves. Just put it all in. Classic Waldorf salad has grapes, but I'm using raisins instead. Just about 1/2 cup. Okay. Next is cheese. Each a really good sharp cheddar, about 1 cup. Next, the bacon and the chicken. Nice crisp red apple. If you're gonna make this a little in advance, do the apple last because you don't want it to turn brown. Okay, now of course, we need salt and pepper and the vinaigrette. One last ingredient, soft-boiled eggs. I'm just gonna cut them in quarters, and while I do, I'm gonna show you how I made them. I put 4 extra large eggs into a medium saucepan and covered them with tap water. Brought it to a full boil, then immediately turned off the heat. I let them sit in the water for exactly 4 minutes. Then I put them into a bowl of cold tap water for 2 minutes to cool. I like to put the eggs on top. I don't want to mix them in too much because you don't want them messed up.
Hey, I'm Sunny Anderson hanging out after the kitchen, in the kitchen. And like I like to say, it's just me, you, and the crew, all right? So today we're gonna talk about spinach artichoke dip. It's a go-to restaurant appetizer. You can recreate this ooey gooey starter with very few ingredients and even add a little kick. This is my spicy 5-ingredient spinach artichoke dip. Let's get started. So I've already got my 5 ingredients out and my oven is preheated to 375 degrees. Now, 5 ingredients: spinach, artichokes, whipped cream cheese with chives, sour cream, and shredded pepper jack cheese, okay? That's all we need to make this dish. I've got my pan. I'm gonna turn it on and get it ready to go, because we're gonna saute some of this baby spinach. We've got a nice jar here of my artichoke hearts. I've got them marinated in oil, because it's, you know, when you're doing 5 ingredients, you really need each ingredient to come with more than just one flavor profile if you can. It needs to come in and pack a punch. So if you can see right here, all that flavor that's going on in here, I'm just gonna drain it out, and I'm gonna maximize my ingredients. That flavorful marinade that's in there, I'm gonna use some of that to cook my spinach. So about 3 tablespoons. I know I'm holding on to my measure, but about 3 tablespoons. And then I've got a big old, what we like to call in the business, the clam shell of love. It's baby spinach. You get more than you think that you're gonna need. Same thing with mushrooms, because it cooks down really, really fast. And what I like to do is just kind of get it in batches, because then you can kind of work it around and make sure everything hits that heat and starts to wilt for you. And you'll start to see it get really, really, really bright, you know, just kind of like as if you were blanching it. And then all of a sudden it starts to wilt. You got a little bit more room. As soon as you start seeing some space in the pan, you can start adding some more. Now, also smart to hit it with a little bit of salt. That doesn't count in the ingredient count. Salt and pepper, and usually like the fat, you know, if it's like olive oil or something. But I decided not to use olive oil. I mean, we've got the oil in there that's marinating the artichoke hearts. When I was growing up, my mom used to always have these soirees at the house, and she wouldn't make like artichoke dip. She would just get like the real raw artichoke, slice it in half, broil it, deliciousness. All right, more in. See, we're so healthy. We're gonna eat all the spinach. All right, so I'm gonna move this around. A little bit more salt helps wilt it down. Plus, we like to season every layer. I used to go crazy in the produce section, making sure everything is like pre-washed. I'm like reading those labels like crazy, so make sure you read the label. All right, so we've got our artichoke hearts while we're waiting on everything to wilt down there. I'm just gonna give them a nice chop. Just come in and be random. Gonna mix it all in together with the other ingredients, our cream cheese, a little shredded pepper jack. And I do that because you know, like I said, few ingredients, they gotta come through with a flavor profile. Boom. All right, so I'm gonna get these into my bowl. Coincidentally, if you didn't know, artichokes, super delicious and tasty, but the center of an artichoke is called the heart. It's the meaty center. It has like a rich, deep taste. All right, so now look at our spinach. It's getting to the point where we don't want it to burn or get dark brown and oxidize. And every once in a while, I'll even chop it down a little bit, but this is baby spinach, so right into the bowl with those artichokes. Get that in there. I'm gonna add 8 ounces of whipped chive cream cheese. I used to use, you know, regular cream cheese, but whipped cream cheese is just what it sounds like. They've aerated it, so it's a lot softer, and you don't have to do that whole defrosting thing and leave it on the counter so it becomes pliable. It just comes right out and ready to mix into your recipes. All right, a little bit of sour cream. A 1/4 cup of sour cream is going in. And then our final ingredient, which is 8 ounces of pre-shredded pepper jack cheese. Got a little bit of fire in there from the pimento. Just come in and just mix it all up. Hit it with a little bit of pepper if you feel like it. I'm starting to smell the artichokes. Now remember, the oven is at 375 degrees. This is gonna take around 20 minutes. So 375 is what I've got the oven at. I've got my little serving dishes here. Now you can use an 8x8, you can do ramekins. This all just depends on the party you're throwing, you know what I'm saying? You can double this and make a big old 9x11. I'm gonna clean that up. But this gets in. Try and be even. And then I'm just gonna use a spoon to level off everything. It's okay if some of that hangs over the edge because, you know, when it comes to the table at the restaurant, it's like bubbling and a couple of pieces of cheese are like burnt. That's the good stuff, you know what I'm saying? All right, remember the pepper jack cheese? It's getting double usage here. A little over the top. It's about 4 ounces. And I always say to myself, you know, an ounce is like a slice. So it's like 4 slices of cheese, no big deal, NBD. Okay, 375 in the oven till it starts to get nice and bubbly around the edge. If you feel like it's not golden brown on the top, you can also throw the broiler on for a few minutes to get that curb appeal that you want. Getting it in the oven. Meet me back here when your dip is ready. Ooh, it's piping hot. You know, when they bring it to the table, they're like, don't touch it. It's really, really hot. It's like, we know that. I want to burn the roof of my mouth with this stuff. All right, I love serving this with tortilla chips, just like at the restaurant. If you want, you can put your tortilla chips in the oven on warm. That's anywhere from 150 to 200 for like 5 to 10 minutes. Just when you start seeing them glisten and the oils are coming to life on the inside. Let me dig up in here. What? Ooh, I like it when the chip breaks. It lets you know it is talking business in there. Look at that. Piping hot goodness. You know, I'm gonna burn my roof in my mouth. I don't care. 5 ingredients. It gets no simpler, so you can make this warm, creamy, and full of melty, cheesy goodness. Definitely one of the most satisfying appetizers around, in my book at least. This is my 5 ingredient spicy spinach artichoke dip. Hope you enjoy.
I've got some leeks that I'm gonna be sauteing here in a second with some cremini mushrooms, but I'll show you this little leek technique. Remember, when the leek grows, it's growing up like this, so the opportunity for sand and dirt and everything to fall down into those crevices is really happening. So what we want to do is I cut mine, makes it a little bit easier to clean, and then I'll just give them a quick little chop, drop them into the water. I can swirl them around with my hand and just kind of wash them like that, or rinse them, I should say. Some people leave the rounds together, but what I find is that if the rounds don't get completely broken apart, you have a chance of getting yourself some sand and some dirt into it. So this is all gonna come together. Well, I'll just do it with my hand. This is all gonna come together for a fantastic stuffed potato skin. And actually, I gotta drop some of the potato skin, so let this settle down here for a second. Some baked potatoes, just left with about a 1/4 inch interior right there. Salted them before I roasted them. And we'll drop them in 350-degree oil. And yes, I want these to almost get like a hollowed out French fry, okay? Almost potato chip-like, because we're gonna be throwing in some Brie cheese, prosciutto, and some mushrooms and all that. Drop these in. Set this aside. Creminis, my favorite. I'm telling you, one of my favorite mushrooms. I can't say it's absolutely my favorite, but it definitely is one of the best. Really nice and meaty. Lots of really defined mushroom flavor, and we're gonna cook these down with these leeks. It'll work out perfect. Okay. Bring it right over. Drop these in, and you know what this needs here is just a little touch of thyme. I got some fresh thyme standing by. That's all gonna cook down together. Throw a little more heat on it, and all the thyme comes out together, and just the leaves of the thyme, okay? I know this seems a little bit more refined than you're thinking game day food. Now, the skins, like I said, you have leftover potatoes. What are you gonna do with them? Well, we're gonna put a little bit of mushroom mixture in there with the leeks, okay? So we'll crumble a little Brie in there, and then what would be the next thought? Okay, yeah, prosciutto. There's gonna be some Italian cold cuts for sure, so look at this. There you go. Some nice prosciutto, thinly sliced. We'll just tear off a few pieces, lay it right up on top. That'll get nice and crusty, kind of like bacon. So I'll knock these out, fill them up, pop them in the oven, let them melt one more time. Whoa, coming over hot. Look at those bad boys, huh? That's potato skins like you've never seen before. Cook these potatoes, scoop them out, deep fried them, filled them with some cremini mushrooms and some leeks, then a little Brie, of course. But look at this, mushrooms, Brie, prosciutto. A little kiss of the leeks in there. Chives on top. Game day. Looks like wedding food, isn't it?
I love grilling, but it's not always that easy. You really have to pay attention to what's on the grill. So I like to do side dishes that are really easy to do, and I can make it in advance, like a big green salad with blue cheese dressing. How bad could that be? So I'm gonna start with the dressing. I've got good Roquefort. What I'm doing is a classic dish, but I'm gonna turn up the volume on every single flavor in the dish. Instead of regular blue cheese, I'm using French Roquefort. So I need about 1/4 pound of Roquefort. Just goes right in the food processor. That's good enough right there. 1/3 cup of cream. 2 teaspoons of tarragon vinegar. Not regular white vinegar, good tarragon vinegar. Cup of mayonnaise. So I can make this dressing in advance, get the lettuce ready, and then when everything's off the grill, it's ready to go. About a cup. None of this has to be exact. Okay, that should be about right. Lots of salt and pepper. It's a dressing, so you want it really well seasoned. Pepper. And just whir it up in the food processor. That's it. Okay, that's the dressing next to the salad. You know, usually it was done with like iceberg lettuce, which has no flavor at all. So I'm gonna turn up the volume and use really good lettuce. Just curly lettuce like this, or romaine, something like that. These are from my garden. They're really just beautiful, but you can get good lettuce in the store. The key is to make sure they're really dry, and then the dressing really sticks to it. These are really big. I can't fit them into the spin dryer, so I'm gonna make one. Just take a clean white kitchen towel, just put them right in the middle, pull the corners up, just like this, and you've made yourself a spin dryer. Just steer clear. And it gets all the water out, and then the dressing really sticks to it. You feel crazy, but it works. Okay. Nice, gorgeous, dry lettuce. So instead of pulling all the leaves off, I'm actually gonna do this. I'm just gonna cut them in half. Let's see which one. I like the curly one, so I'm gonna start with that. Just take the bottom of this off and just cut the whole thing in half. Make sure it's nice and clean. And just put a big piece of lettuce on the plate. I mean, how simple is that? And now you've got to have tomatoes, but not just ordinary tomatoes. I'm going to pick really gorgeous heirloom tomatoes. Just a couple of big, thick slices. Yeah, okay. I always like to use a serrated knife for cutting tomatoes. I think they're easiest. You want something that has great flavor. So I'm going to do like 2 slices of tomato. And then because I have all these gorgeous little tomatoes that are so wonderful, I'm just gonna cut them in half. They all don't have to be the same size. I actually like when they're not the same size. This looks like a very big salad for one. Might be for 2. Just little tomatoes. This is one of my favorites, called green zebra, appropriately named. And even when it's ripe, it's green, and it's so delicious. All these little, aren't they just gorgeous? Look how lovely they are inside. And all I need is dressing, and I've got the perfect side dish for a grill. This big drizzle of blue cheese dressing. And of course, to give it even more flavor, crumble of more cheese, a little bit of blue cheese on it. I mean, does this look good or what? I can guarantee you I'll be serving this at my next grilling party. Yellow tomatoes and blue cheese dressing. Who would want anything else? So good.
Crab dip that I'm making with Asiago cheese, some sharp cheddar, some cream cheese. I'm shredding about 1 cup of white cheddar, and I'm all about building flavors, even if it's in a dip. I want to get some of that creamy sharpness from the white cheddar and that nutty richness from the Asiago cheese, and I'm making sure I don't scrape my fingers. Ooh, that looks beautiful. I'm gonna use 8 ounces of room temp cream cheese. If you use cold, you'll get little clumps of cream cheese throughout your dip. You don't want that to happen. 1/2 cup mayo, a half a cup of sour cream. And the sour cream is gonna add some tanginess that I think works really well with that sharp cheddar. About that much heavy cream, a tablespoon lemon juice, and that's like half a lemon. Drop in this cheddar and Asiago cheese. I love the smell of fresh crab meat, and I'm using claw meat because I really want the crab to be the star of the show. It's sweet, and it's gonna push through all the sharpness and the creaminess of the cheeses. I'm getting into this now, okay? I'm gonna add in some seafood seasoning. Gotta add a little hot sauce to this. It's gonna be really flavorful with a little kick of heat. Fold it in and see, and this is why I said it was so important to have room temp ingredients, because look how that's just effortlessly folding together. Okay, next step, transfer it into this 1-quart baking dish and pop it in the oven. Oh, wow. And you know what? I wanna add some more cheese on top. Just spread that on top. This looks great. I'm gonna pop this in the oven. I have it preheated to 400 degrees. I'm gonna bake it for 20 to 25 minutes. I think my crab dip is done. Woo! Hot mama! Look at that. The guys are gonna love this. Get into it. How about that crab dip?
It's awesome. We're gonna patent that.
Talk about a retro recipe. I'll do a little switcheroo of the pans. And the first ingredient of the sauce, appropriately, is cranberry sauce. This is just straight out of a can, my friends, so we are not getting too fancy around here. And then I'm gonna add some barbecue sauce, and then just a few more ingredients to add to the flavor. A couple tablespoons of soy sauce, and same amount of mustard. I'm using Dijon, but you can do a grainy brown mustard. Anything works. A squeeze or two of honey. Now I'm doing a lot of zesting today. I'm gonna zest in an orange. I swear, of all the things I'm making today, this is the one that reminds me most of my grandma. Oh, she used to make things like this all the time. Okay, I'm gonna stir this around. And if you don't have cranberry sauce, you can start with a jar of jam, really just anything that's sticky, a little bit sweet. Now there's a lot of sweetness in here, so I'm gonna balance it out with a little bit of salt. And then I just need to heat this up and let it thicken, and then I'll add the sausages and move things merrily along. I'm gonna finish up the Christmas sausages. The sauce is nice and thick and bubbling away. Now I have 2 pounds of smoked sausage, and I cut them in diagonal slices. And I'll just toss them, and that'll give the sausages a chance to heat up. You can also heat up the sausage in the oven while the sauce is boiling away if you want to save a step, but it won't take too long for these to get nice and hot. Oh gosh, that didn't take long. That sauce was so hot. Now, I'm gonna put these into a chafing dish very carefully. It's nice to have a small handful of chafing dishes if you like to have holiday parties. Chafing dishes seem retro to me. My mom and her friends always had a bunch at their parties. They would actually borrow one another's. I kept seeing the same collection of chafing dishes from the various parties in the Bartlesville circuit. So I'm gonna get this one lit. Speaking of lit, this food is lit, as my boys would say. Okay, that's it for the Christmas sausages.
The next thing I'm making is cacio e pepe cheese puffs. Cacio e pepe means cheese and pepper. And it starts with a pâte à choux dough. I'm gonna show you how to make it, it's really easy. 1 cup of milk, and heat it up with 1/4 pound of butter. And just bring that to a simmer. This is actually the same dough that makes éclairs, makes profiteroles. and all kinds of cheese puffs. So just heat this until the butter melts, and then bring it to a simmer. You don't want the milk to boil. It's simmering now. You can just see the bubbles around the edge. So I need salt and pepper, 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of pepper, and now 1 cup of flour. Okay, level it off. Okay, and then I'm just gonna dump it in. Stir it really vigorously for 2 minutes on low heat, and you'll see it all come together. Okay, that's about 2 minutes. When you see a light coating of flour on the bottom of the pan, you know the dough is ready. Okay, now off the heat, and now I'm gonna dump it into a food processor. Just pour the whole thing in. Watch how cool this is. I'm gonna add 4 eggs and lots of cheese. 1/2 cup of pecorino and 1/2 cup of Parmesan. They have slightly different flavors and I like them together. Put the lid on and just process it just until it all comes together. It's gonna be really thick. And that's the dough. I mean, that's pretty easy. So now I just have to fill a pastry bag. I've got a really big one. It's 18 inches, and I've put a plain round tip in it. The tip is about 5/8 inches across. Okay. Just squeeze the dough down to the bottom. Okay, I'm gonna show you how I do it. Just put your pastry bag down like this and have them come out, just like that. You can do about 20 on each sheet pan. So now, I don't want pointy little cheese puffs, I want rounded ones. So I'm just gonna take a wet finger and just press down the top of each one. Okay, now I'm gonna brush them with a little bit of egg wash. Okay, a few more things. I'm gonna put a sprinkling of pecorino on the top of each one. Just make sure it has great cheese flavor. And then, because you want them to be really spicy, sprinkle them with salt and pepper. Okay, ready to go into the oven. 425 degrees for 15 to 20 minutes until they're puffed and golden brown on the outside and still soft inside. You're not gonna believe what they look like when they come out. How fabulous do those look? They smell so cheesy and peppery. Okay, now I'm just gonna put them on a platter. A little fleur de sel to finish. Everything tastes better with more salt. And see, cacio e pepe cheese puffs, they're not so daunting after all. Now I just need a good glass of Italian wine to go with it. Time to assemble the salad. So the first thing I have is 4 ounces of arugula. It's gorgeous baby arugula. And I love it because it's got a nice peppery flavor. And it's great with the butternut squash. As soon as the butternut squash is done, I'm gonna put that on top. But first, I'm gonna grate some Parmesan cheese. I always use Reggiano Parmesan. Usually when I grate Parmesan, I grate it in a food processor with a steel blade. So it's sort of ground, not grated. But for this salad, I think big grates would be just terrific. That should do it. I think the butternut squash should be just ready. How gorgeous that looks. Isn't that wonderful? So I'm just gonna take the warm butternut squash, put it right on top of the arugula. It'll wilt the arugula, which is perfect. Okay, next I'm gonna put some walnuts, about 1/2 cup of toasted walnuts. I dry roasted them in a pan. Really brings out the walnut flavor. And lots of the grated Parmesan cheese, 3/4 cup. And the warm vinaigrette, it's sweet and it's sour from the vinegar. Just pour it all over. And just toss it all together, the spinach and butternut squash. It's got such great flavors, great autumnal-looking salad. I would say that's gonna be perfect for Jeffrey's dinner. Now, all we need is a glass of champagne. Jeffrey's gonna think we're in a bistro in Paris, right there on our side porch. So what do they say in Paris? Santé?
Santé.
So remember we had a butternut squash salad in Paris?
Yeah,
I thought it'd be fun to try it.
it tastes just fantastic.
Yeah?
Actually, this is better than that.
You always think whatever I make is better.
No. I can be a severe critic.
I'm starting with a big old hunk of this wonderful cheese that everybody uses for queso, except I'm using the white version. Since it's Christmas queso, I wanted the red and green really to pop, so I thought the white would be just perfect. This is a 2-pound block, and I just cut it into a really big dice. And I'll just pop it into a pan. Now I'll just turn the heat to about medium-low, and now I'll add the other ingredients to the queso. I'll start with 2 cans of diced tomato and chilies, another essential queso ingredient. And now to up the green factor, even though there are chilies, I thought it needed a little more pop of green. I'll dice up a couple of fresh jalapenos. They'll also add some much needed spice to the queso. These guys can definitely handle it. I love fresh jalapeno. It's one of my very favorite ingredients to cook with. Okay, now I'll just put the jalapenos right in. Now, of course, I've already got plenty of red in here, but since it's Christmas, I wanted to make sure red is properly represented. So I'll add a little jar of diced pimentos. All right, now it's just about melting the cheese. It won't take too long. Okay, the queso looks absolutely amazing. It's filling me with Christmas spirit.